Yo, bitch, you don't like listening to this on YouTube? We have it on Spotify now. Boop!
Links on the description. Hello, people equipped with good taste. Welcome to another episode of the Higurashi Log. This is gonna have Higurashi as long as Umineko spoilers, so you have been warned. I'm Des, and I'm here with...
Horse scam. Yay.
Yay.
Yen Sid.
Yay, wow, you guys are so motivated for this. Whoa.
I just went with what Horsegang was doing, so this is his fault.
Well done, Horsegam. You managed to pass your monotony onto Jansid. Well, anyway, let's get it started. So, this episode, quite a weird episode. So, the episode opens up, and instead of jumping right into this new arc, which would be Nekodamashi, we actually start at the previous arc, which would be Tatari Damashi, and we see the things that we previously had only heard from Rena, which was that, Oishi showed up at the festival at Watanagashi and just killed everyone. Now we got to actually see that, so, unfortunately, the amazing theory that was Calendar Gate has been debunked. F for Calendar Gate.
Okay. Here's how Calendar Gate can still win. What if there's two?
Okay.
What if there's two fragments? We don't know. We don't know that the beginning of this arc with Rika dying is in the same fragment as the previous arc.
Brothers, you just keep digging your own grave deeper and deeper, bro.
He's not digging his own grave. He's making himself a tent.
I'm just playing devil's advocate for myself.
Horse game, what did you mean by that metaphor?
He's making a tent and sitting there until he's right.
But what does that have to do with digging a grave? Well, whatever. Let's just keep going. So, Oishi just shows up with a beaten up bat. And he's like, I've been looking for you. Then he picks up Rika and essentially kinda takes her hostage in the middle of Watanagashi. Then Shion is like, yo, I'm gonna save Rika fucking Chan. And so she jumps onto Oishi trying to do something about it, but Oishi pulls out his gun. And unfortunately, Shion did not build her skill tree that allows her to have a high evasion stat like Rena, so she ends up being shot. Then I think it's Mion that also tries to save Rika, and then she also ends up getting shot or something. So then Oishi is like, yo, Rika, tell me what's going on. What's the truth behind the curse? What is this all about? And then Rika goes into bad mode and she's like I'm telling you, fat ass. And so she doesn't tell him anything. He goes fucking insane and, makes her face into a new one with the baseball bat. Quite a great way to get information, Oishi, When someone doesn't tell you something you really need to know, kill them. That sure is gonna work. So anyway, Satoko ends up arriving at Watanagashi, and Rena is like, Satoko, no, get back. And then it cuts off. We don't know what happened to Satoko, because supposedly Satoko isn't alive. I don't know what's going on. We know Rena survived. We don't know about Satoko.
Well, Rena said Satoko died at the end of episode 13.
Okay.
So we can probably say that she's dead.
But what if it was merely Satoko's personality dying?
Ooh.
No. So, don't get your filthy ideas in this, Yansid. You've had your time with Calendar Gate. We are now going to, devalue all of your theories from this point onwards.
I'm just going by the precedent of Umineko.
No. Yansid, this really isn't helping your case. Alright?
Okay, say it in red that Calendar K is not real. Oh wait, you can't.
Well, anyway, we are transported into the meta world. Oh shit, we haven't been here since episode 2. And then Hanyu is there.
Oh, man.
And Hanyu's like, Rika, no. Sniff, sniff, I am about to die. And Rika is like, the fuck, dude, no. And Hanyu's like, this is my final message. Goodbye. Save the world. So she fucking disappears, but not before telling Rika there's this mythical sword called Onigari no Ryu, which is now confirming that what was supposed to be found inside the statue of Oyashiro-sama in the Ritual 2 storehouse was in fact the sword. And she tells Bern, that, the power of the sword is to, I think she really says that it's to kill a looper or to kill a metaphysical entity or something. And how crazy is that? We've been hearing, especially if you've read Umineko, which I don't know what you're doing listening to this if you haven't read Umineko. How crazy is it that we've seen metaphysical entities dying over and over again, then being alive on the next arc. I'm not talking about the pieces on the game board. I'm talking about shit like Sakutaro dying and then being revived by Anji's power, for example. The death of metaphysical entities in When They Cry is also a joke. Is almost a joke, I mean. And then we just get this fucking sword that actually has the power to basically delete a metaphysical entity. How crazy is this? The closer we've seen to this is Peace's power. On episode 9 of Umineko. Just fucking deleting the existence of a character. Just fucking crazy. What did you guys think about this sword? Onigari no Ryo. Well, no, I mean Onigari no Ryo. I have learned some time ago that...
I only reacted it because, you keep telling us about the sword, because you're the only one who read, Kotohogoshi, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Kotohogushi, I mean. Kotohoguchi.
And you're you wouldn't be oh my god, the sword that's in thing, Satoko stole the sword.
I didn't say Satoko stole the sword. What the fuck? When did I say Satoko stole the sword?
Because you said Satoko messed with the statue or something during.
Yeah, I said she broke the statue, the hand. Not that she fucking stole the sword.
But in Wataja Amashi, when they were in the storehouse, they saw the sword hole.
Yeah, they did see the sword hole. So what? That doesn't mean Satoko stole it. I never said Satoko stole it. Don't put words in my mouth.
Satoko has the sword. She's gonna pull it out during one. Just be hey guys, check out this sword.
She just pulls up to a club activity. Yo, look what I found. It's a fucking 1,000-year-old sword with the power to kill metaphysical entities. Fucking hell, Satoko.
Power to kill witches, might I say.
Yeah, yo, this sword is just fucking broken. Anyway, after the meta world scene, we got transported into the new arc. Nekodamashi, Get Deceiving chapter. Rika wakes up, she's kind of confused, just oh no, what am I gonna do without Hanyu? Can we just, discuss for a moment how fucking crazy it is that now Rika is actually alone? Oh my god, I was legit so saddened by that. Fucking hell. I didn't think Go would make me feel sad, but it did.
It did not make me feel sad.
Just so weird not having Hanyu there.
I don't have an attachment to Hanyu. Hanyu is one of those characters I don't really understand, because she's in 2 arcs, barely.
See, if you had written Kotohogushi and actually read Kamikanshi after you read Outbreak, fucking hell, Horsecam, I've been telling you to read these arcs for the longest time. She also appears in Saikoroshi, by the way, which you also haven't read. Fucking hell.
I don't like Hanyu. She's a purple-haired SJW.
Yes.
Hanyu
exactly.
is a liar. I can't wait to get into my theory.
Would this episode come out before the theory episode you made?
You see, I think I'm not even gonna edit that episode, not only because it was confusing as fuck, but also because I'm gonna have to explain the theory on this episode anyway.
Waste of an hour.
It wasn't a waste of an hour. It helped me, develop my ideas for this episode. So, for our listeners who don't know what's going on...
all of our funny jokes about us making fun of your theory and your presentation would be all gone.
If I have free time, I will go back and try to find those bits and pieces, and I'll have that after the title card on this episode. If I have time to do that, because I'm gonna try to get this episode out, until Sunday. Well, anyway, for our listeners who don't know what's going on, about a week ago, we recorded an episode about my theory, because I came up with this amazing theory that I'm gonna share on this episode. And I was yo, we have to record an episode on this right to this moment. And so the day after, we actually recorded that. But since we had to record a book club episode right after that, we didn't have time to properly explain my theory. So the episode ended up being kind of mid. But, I think I was very excited in that episode, and I would actually really like to hear what we were doing on that episode, because even though it was rushed, I feel like it was funny. It's just that now with this episode, it's gonna be kind of irrelevant. Cool. I'm glad that's what you think about this foreskin.
About your theory?
I don't know, you just yawned. You tell me why you yawned.
I woke up like 2 hours ago. Leave me alone.
You woke up 2 hours ago and you're still feeling drowsy?
I woke up like 4 hours ago and I'm still feeling kind of mid. Mid has just lost all meaning to me now. It's just become the anti-based of words.
What the fuck? Word theory. We are now on to word theory. Well, going back to Higurashi then. When Neko Damashi starts and Rika wakes up feeling hella confused about and depressed. You know, we read a post on Reddit before, like about an hour ago, that, you know, pointed out that the calendar on the wall when Rika wakes up says the 21st of June, I think. And then on the next scene, it's the 12th of June. Is that how you fucking say that? 12th?
Yes.
So, could this be an animation error or a hint? What's your guys' opinion on this thing?
Probably an animation error because it's like in the background.
Probably an animation error because it's like it's not really visible. Like,
because it's in the background and it's at an angle, which like you're viewing it from the side.
Like the council calendar, it was like in plain view for at least 3 shots.
I see.
I kind of hate the fact that we're interacting with this mystery through this anime, because Ryukishi's... I've gone over this point like the 3rd time, but I still need to fucking go over it again, because in the fight scenes with Rena and Teppei, you're like, this is so over the top, it has to be fake. And then Oishi comes in with no like insanity filter, and it's like almost the same amount of over the top. And that's just real life.
Yes. My favorite part was watching after the episode. I saw a link on the subreddit that said, brutal Higurashi scene. It's just that first scene of the episode. I thought that was really funny.
Oh my god.
Epic Higurashi Guro time.
Rika wakes up. Satoko is like, yo, you feeling alright? Rika's like, nah, bro, I'm not feeling alright. But, you know, she ends up getting up and then, you know, starting to prepare, I think, lunch, like the bento boxes, with Satoko, and she picks up the knife and she's like, what if? Haha, just kidding. Unless, you know, Rika starts thinking about killing herself, essentially. But not her physical body, like her metaphysical existence, the thing that Hanyu suggested. And so, she ends up going with Satoko to meet with Mion for them to do a club activity. And they're like, yo, Rika, you've been feeling kind of, you know, down. So why don't you choose what game we're going to play? And then Rika is like, yo, let's, I don't know, play hide and seek. Yo, how's that? And then she's like, you need to find me before, you know, the sunset. And if you don't, and what if we don't find you, Rika? And she's like, you know, I'll just go home by myself. And goddammit, the vibes I was getting from this, oh my fucking god, this was actually very, very sad. So, hide and seek game starts, and we get a big hint out of nowhere, in plain sight here, which is that Mion fucking has. Mion has the keys to the septic tank for some reason.
Why wouldn't she? She's a representative, the president, right?
I guess, but shouldn't the keys stay at school? And okay, I'm gonna say what I said like yesterday or something. This is such a big parallel to Beato. Like, both of them are giving up on their lives and trusting their fates to the ones they love. And like, both of them are like, yo, you need to solve this mystery. In Beato's case, the gold, finding the gold, and then accepting Sayo. And in Rika's case, the mystery is where Rika is hiding. So in both of the cases, they need to solve the mystery before, you know, a certain time limit, and, you know, solving the mystery or not ends up deciding their fates. It's just such a big parallel. And I'm like, if like Umi Castel were to look back at this and because I don't think this Rika is the Rika that's gonna become Umi Castel. Like, this Rika is one that won Higurashi and went back. Umi Castel is like the separate witch entity that went on to live, you know, metaphysically. So if Umi Castell, after the fucking shame she felt at the end of episode 6, after finding out what the answer to Beato's game was, if she were to look back and see that Higu Castell was mirroring Beato's behavior so one-to-one, so similarly, I think Umi Castell would be disgusted at herself. It's just, this is so messed up on so many levels. So they end up finding Rika, but by the time Rika has already found a shard of the sword, and this is a part of the opening. Finally, we know what that scene means. Rika found the book.
I fucking knew that one clip of the opening had to be something important, but there was nothing I could get from it.
I knew it had to be the sword. I knew it had to be the sword. So yeah, she found it, and she was like, it's just a shard, but maybe this can still have that effect. So what do you guys think is gonna happen? Do you think Rika is gonna do it? Because she gave herself 5 whoops. So do you think she's gonna reach her happy ending?
I'm really wondering, what is the 5... How are they gonna do the 5 loops in the rest of the season?
Yeah, because I see a lot of people saying, it means 5 more arcs, which is going to be really hard to do in 10 episodes. No, there's 9 episodes left.
They can just go full Dean Umineko pacing.
Well, they could have some of the arcs be just a slideshow, and not a slideshow. You know what I mean? Just showing...
Montage.
A montage, exactly, a montage.
4 of the loops are just Family Guy cutaway gags.
It's a really awesome shit post. It's just
Rika going, hey Keiichi, remember when Teppei bonked me in the head and I died?
What if this last arc is just Legend of the Golden Witch?
You've been reading too many Umineko tweets.
Yes. I've been circulating on Twitter way too much.
I can't believe that they're not making a Go version of my favorite Higurashi arc, the 4th one.
Himatsubushi.
Yeah, I want time deceiving chapter. I want to see Super Lolly Rika.
Oh my god, if Sayome was here, she'd be killing you so heavily. Not right now, Horseman.
Exactly. That's why I'm free to say anything I want.
You don't even agree with what you're saying. You're just saying that to trigger Sayome when she goes back and watches the video, are you not?
She's not gonna watch this.
Do you think she's not gonna watch this?
We're 20 minutes into a recording. She's not gonna be say anything. If she does, I'll laugh really hard.
Okay, before we get into more deeper theory things, there's some interesting that happened in the manga adaptation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because this whole thing... Because I haven't read the latest chapter yet, and I heard about it from Mina's tweet.
Same.
Oishi looks more chunky in the manga than he does in the anime.
How?
So Oishi pops up after the Watanagashi in Watadamashi? Huh.
Okay, so... In the manga version of Watadamashi, the ladder scene with Mion, or... Well, Shion... Instead of it happening, at the school place, it just happens, in the original, at Rika's home.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird change, because how would this tie into the mystery? What change even is there for them to make?
So weird. It is very weird.
I think maybe this manga may be connected to the larger mystery. That's why it's 2 weeks and way behind everything. Because it's still not finished with the second arc. I think by the time it adapts this current arc in the anime, it's gonna be completely freaking different.
But that still doesn't explain why they are so different.
If this would tie into the overarching mystery, though, then why would there be 2 separate looping Rikas? Is one of them Rika and one of them in the manga version is Burkastel or something? Actually, that would be kind of interesting.
Although, what do you mean, Yensid?
If this somehow ties into the overarching mystery, then how are both of these happening? Because otherwise, the adaptational differences would probably need to be not much.
That is true. Damn. So, Horse Game, if I recall correctly, you had a theory, you even made a diagram, so let's hear your Horsegate theory.
I made a diagram? When? I didn't even write anything.
You sent the diagram to the chat.
That was someone else's theory about Tatari Damashi.
Ah, I see. So
where they used Red and Blue Truth.
What the fuck? Well, anyway, what's the horse gate theory all about?
Oh well, the horse gate theory was a one step up from the calendar gate, where Keiichi is imagining, where like they're pretending to have Hinamizawa in the summer of June 1983. Well, I just say, what if this isn't Hinamizawa, and each loop is a different version of Hinamizawa? It's just a different town altogether.
Why are you stretching this even more?
Because I thought it was funny.
So it's not...
Is it not funny?
I thought you had an actual theory.
Didn't you get this from evidence from a Reddit post saying that the architecture in the show's kinda fucked?
Yeah.
Can you link that and kinda go over it a little?
Yeah, let me search for it.
Oh, while we do that horse scam, should we mention our bet? Because you said we
start talking about it, because I'm gonna have to mute myself so my keyboard clicks don't get into the episode.
Alright. So here's the thing. About 2 weeks ago, we were discussing the possible new opening and ending, because I think it was the singer of the ending was like, yo, there's gonna be a new ending. And even though we didn't see the new ending in this episode, it's probably gonna be on the next episode. Wait a minute, yeah, there wasn't a new ending, so of course there wasn't a new opening as well. The bet still stands, but either way, I'm gonna explain what the bet is. So we were discussing whether there was gonna be a new opening as well or not, and so me and Horsegam ended up betting against each other. I was on the side that there was gonna be a new opening as well. Horsegam was on the side that there was not gonna be a new opening as well. And what we betted on was a tweet. So the loser would have to allow the other to write a tweet on their account. And so Horsegam was feeling very, adamant about writing a tweet on my account. But we also didn't get the new ending that the singer was talking about. So we can still wait another episode and see if there's also a new opening on the next episode.
Well, that means your punishment could be delayed even further, because there's no way there's a new opening.
Okay, should we handle this like a gambling thing of like a doubling your bet of you delaying it
No, how about this? If you get a new opening, I will let you and Saime decide what you should tweet on my account. If not, I'll let Yinsen and Saime decide what should be tweeted on your account.
I don't want Saime to decide anything that goes to my Twitter. No. That's just not happening. Saime should stay as far away. Saime should stay as far away as possible from my Twitter.
So would you rather Yinsen?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't think he's any better.
Thanks.
Wait, I don't
know if I should be offended that you don't think I have a more or equal chaotic energy to Sayome.
No, wait a minute. I said I would rather have Yensid. I never agreed to this double down. I never agreed to this. I don't want to double down, bro. I'm good.
Well, you're delaying it, so if it's true, I will then I could, because we didn't actually set real rules of how, if I actually have to come out with it, so I can make Saime come out with it instead.
Horsegam, come on, please be merciful, bro. Don't cancel me. Don't get me cancelled, please.
We need democratic control of Des's account.
Yes, Des's account is now a democracy. We will elect a president of Des's account.
Something about dictatorship of the podcast.
Shut up. I think
it's just Des's personal account, not our actual podcast account.
My dictatorship judgment is always right, you see. Every time I make Sayome's name the same color as the background, it's because she deserves it. So
You're not making it the same color as the background. You're making it sort of the same color.
I don't care. It's enough for her identity to go away. So whenever I take Sayome's name out of her, it's because she deserves it. Let's keep going with the episode.
All right.
No. We need to mention this thing Yensid brought up. the architecture of the village. So what's this all about? Well, first of all, who posted this?
Who posted this was u/BetaQO.
Oh, I think I remember hearing that name. Well, anyway, what is this post all about?
So basically, they say like the view from the shrine and like Keiichi's map don't mix.
Damn. Okay, this is very interesting, and these are way too many images for me to put on the video, so I'm just gonna link it on the description. If you want to see the mad library that this person has brought light to, just go over to the description and read about this.
Because I'm probably not gonna explain it well because I only parsed it through like a week ago, and I don't remember.
It's just that this is like the evidence is all images, so even if we describe the images, it's gonna be much easier and better explain if you just look at them for yourself. So just know that this exists and you should definitely check it out because it seems to be something major going on here. But once again, it could just be the fucking anime studio fucking...
God, I wish this was a fucking VN.
Same.
Then we wouldn't have to deal with this bullshit.
That's exactly what this is. This is absolute bullshit. So are we all non-believers that this could be hints? Do we all unanimously agree that these are most likely than not animation errors?
I have no goddamn clue.
I don't think...
Like, half of the visuals in the show, we can just be like, is this an animation error? Or is this a hint?
Just imagine that fucking really old meme of the butterfly. Is this an animation error?
Yeah. I need to make
like
that meme.
Butterfly titled animation error community. Is this a clue towards the fact that this is all the same loop?
Should we go over to theory territory then?
I'm a little disappointed that Calendar Gate, can't happen, but I also knew in the back of my head, when thinking of this, alright, we have 1 week for this to be a valid theory.
Yeah, because that's why we had to rush that episode. It's like, okay,
we didn't rush it any more than we already do every log episode. It was as rushed as all the others.
Because I just knew that was the exact type of theory that could only exist for a short period of time in an ongoing mystery.
In the opposite side of the nature of your theory, I think my theory will not be neither confirmed or denied by Higurashi Go, so it will live on for ages. Should we get into my theory?
I'd like to go over one thing. Here's what the bat that Oishi had looks like, and here's what the bat that Teppei had looked like.
oh my god, Oishi killed Keiichi.
Okay, but what do you guys think of the idea that hallucination Teppei may have just been fucking Oishi?
I think that's plausible.
I don't think it is because Keiichi did beat down Oishi.
It makes some sense, but there is parts that are weird because if it was Oishi, why didn't he just blow Keiichi's head off?
True.
I guess it could have been sound, but also Keiichi did beat Teppei into submission, and then Oishi. This would have had to happen before everyone got shot by him.
And also, Satoko was there, and yet Satoko arrived after Oishi killed everyone.
Where?
So it doesn't make sense.
And also, Satoko was covered in blood, so... At least seen by Rina, covered in blood. So obviously something happened, and Satoko saw, and Satoko saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to ask the question: was Teppei actually there?
I think so.
One thing I have to think about if this wasn't Teppei, if it was either Satoko's trap just bonked Keiichi and he hallucinated it all, or that just was Oishi, is. How did he hallucinate someone he never met? Because he did see Teppei in the dream, but he didn't hear him. So how the fuck did he get the correct voice for Teppei?
Yeah, I guess it is Teppei right there.
If this was a VN or manga, we wouldn't have to ask that fucking question.
We would if it was voiced.
How do you voice a manga?
You did mention a VN, you dumbass.
No, I meant like a Ryukishi made VN.
Oh yeah, when it doesn't have voices yet.
Because like voices added to Ryukishi VNs have kind of been fucked, like with them just adding battlers.
Nah, that's just one error. The rest is great.
Yeah, because Battler's voice actor also voices young Kenzo in episode 7.
Huh? I didn't know that.
You didn't?
I
They
didn't.
sound the exact same.
Well, maybe
It's like, oh, that's Battler.
maybe I had just forgotten.
Because that was the part where I was complaining that they weren't speaking in English.
Ah, in Italian you mean?
No, in English.
Huh?
Beatrice and Kenzo speak in English with each other.
I think the reason they don't is because Butler isn't able to speak in English. Butler is physically unable to speak in English.
Well, I could at least do broken English.
See you again. Have a nice day.
Also, the friend who like sent me these images of the bats on Discord also mentioned that Oishi at the end and when going insane and Mion at the end of the second arc were saying like the same things about I think like Rika being behind it or something.
Ah, yeah, true. Yeah, what the fuck do they? Why does everyone think Rika is
So
behind
he was
this?
thinking like, is there someone else behind this that's trying to convince them that Rika is
all the
the mastermind?
Rika. It's all the Rika. All the Rika is
Burn
going
can
around.
steal, trap,
What?
younger Rika.
It's not Burn can.
What?
Burn can steal. What the fuck? Where? Horse cam. Can you stop? Fucking.
Burn is the main villain. She trapped herself for some reason.
Okay, sure. So whatever you say. Could we get into hanyu theory?
Yes.
Great. So the rest of the episode is just gonna be my wonderful theory. It's called hanyu. It's lie and hanyu.
Oh.
Hanyu.
Line?
Because-
She's a line?
Hanyu lies. In case you didn't know, Hanyu lies a lot. She does lie a lot. So okay, I'm gonna have to spoil Kotohogushi and Kamikanshi because those are very important arcs for my hanyu theory. Kotohogushi isn't translated to English, but if you go onto the description, in case I don't forget about it, you'll find a link to a summary of Kotohogushi, in English, of course. Hanyu is the leader of the Nation of Horns. Do you know what the Nation of Horns is?
A place where they play a bunch of horns.
What?
It's a nation of horns. So they probably celebrate with a lot of French horns. Oh, it's probably France! Got it!
What the fuck? The Nation of Horns is Hinamizawa, is Higurashi. The Nation of Horns are the fans of Higurashi because they're all so fucking horny. Yay, we solved Higurashi. No, the Nation of Horns is an ancient civilization from outer space. And so,
okay. This is just
they were...
theory from
That-
Sumi Horoboshi.
That's the fucking thing!
What?
That's the thing, it was correct! There are aliens in Higurashi.
Okay.
Wait, is this your theory?
No, this is from Kotohogushi.
What?
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What?
What?
Yeah, this is from Kotohogushi.
What?
So Kotohogushi is Hanyu's backstory arc, in which intergalactic space aliens are a big thing in it. So these aliens from another dimension are called the Ryun. Like their species is called the Ryun. So they came from another dimension far away when their world was destroyed. Why was this world destroyed? No one really knows. We just know that the world was destroyed.
Without the context of, like, reading this as an arc, this just feels like the thing like a hobo at a bus stop would tell me.
Like, I feel like you just took Rena's theory and, like, added some context to it.
Yeah, and they came to our dimension through a gate. So yeah, but you know, Hanyu is from this species, but she wasn't actually alive when their original world was destroyed. And so the end of the world of the Ryun came sooner than expected. So they knew it was coming, so they built gates. But it came sooner than expected, and so like they flooded the gates, and that led to an error that separated their minds and their bodies, which led to many of them losing their bodies and becoming ghosts. So essentially, many of them, after going through the gate and coming to our world, they were just the mind. The body was gone, so they were ghosts. And so these ghosts were only composed of information, and so they started possessing humans because we are the Earth organisms with the highest affinity to accumulating information. More specifically, human embryos, since there would be little information to overwrite. And then, as the affected human grew, its personality would merge with the Ryun's personality, and this would be called a simulation. But then the Ryun would lose their memories as the host grew up. And so in the end, you'd have a personality that would be a mixture of the one the child would just develop while growing and the Ryun's. And then the memories of the Ryun would just fucking disappear. So that it would be a regular human, except the personality was half Ryun. And then eventually an epidemic broke out, like on Earth. And so the remaining ghosts, like, they stopped possessing the embryos because the embryos were more susceptible to dying from the epidemic, and so they started possessing adolescents instead. But the downside of this is that now that the adolescents already have a personality fully formed, so the two personalities would collide and fight, but then the winner would be damaged and behave abnormally. And this is what we would eventually call the Hinamizawa Syndrome. And so...
Wait, if they attack adolescents, then why do they attack Oishi?
This was back in the day, Horsecam. We are talking like 1,000 years ago or more.
Ooh, 1,000 years ago.
This is like way back in the past. Even before the first ancestor we know of Rika was born. This is even before that. So yeah, these ghosts that possess the adolescents, this would be called mixed bloods, because once again they would have to fight for the ownership, let's say, of the body, so they would be damaged. Mixed bloods. So these mixed bloods would behave abnormally, and so they would mutate. They would become monsters. We'll get back to this, but they would become demons essentially. And so Hanyu's line, which Hanyu in this part of the story is called Jeda. She's called her name is bigger, but let's just call her Jeda. So Jeda's line were fighters, and so they took upon themselves to kill these mixed bloods that were causing problems to the humans. And so the way they would do this, they would just materialize on Earth and then kill the mixed bloods and go back up to another dimension, I guess. So yeah, they essentially were either a physical entity or a metaphysical entity. They could interchange between those. Eventually, since the Ryun have low birth rates, Jeda was the last pureblood alive. So she had to be very careful with what she did with her wife, but she still fought these mixed bloods. I mean, and then the way Jeda would go from a metaphysical existence into a physical fucking hell, she would go from a metaphysical existence into a physical existence and back was through a gate sentient control gate, which was essentially the technology that the Ryun used to go from one dimension to another. That's what Jeda uses to materialize and dematerialize, essentially. And once she dematerializes and becomes a metaphysical existence, she essentially pops up in something very akin to the meta world, which is very interesting. So yeah, this is what we need to know about this arc. Oh, and also this control gate that is called Ryun-oku. This control gate would eventually be used as a sword. So like the sword that Jeda would use to kill half the mixed bloods was also the control gate that she used to go back into the meta world. And this sword is what we know as Onigari no Ryu, the sword that is mentioned. Okay, so the conclusions I took for my theory from Kota Higuchi, so this is just my interpretation, is that the parasite is actually what the ghosts do to the people affected. Like the Hinamizawa Syndrome. So like the parasite we know of is just the form that the Ryun took in order to affect the humans, and then it was passed down for generations until it became weakened, because we know the parasite is weakened now. Also, when the affected develop the syndrome, the parasites become active, bringing the whole body closer to a state of existence as the Ryun, enabling them to hear hanyu. And that is why I think Shion, for example, or Keiichi, I don't remember which one of them is able to hear hanyu jumping on the ritual tool storehouse. Because their paranoia would start to develop those paranoia symptoms because of Takano's story. So they would hear hanyu because the parasites would start becoming active. So when Oka is the child of Jeda and the first Furude guy we know of. So when Oka kills Jeda, because Jeda is killed by her daughter, there's a reason for this, but you'd need to read the story summary. So when Oka kills Jeda with Onigari no Ryo, the sword, her metaphysical existence dies. Like, her physical body dies because it's a fucking sword, but her metaphysical existence also dies. This is weird, because Jeda does come back as hanyu. She ends up popping up again as hanyu, which shouldn't make sense, because supposedly Onigari no Ryo kills metaphysical existences. So this is weird. But also, the way hanyu ends up appearing in Higurashi is similar to what we know of the ghosts. Just a mind without a body. So this is something to keep in mind. Now, in Go, hanyu claims that the sword can kill metaphysical existences, but she did come back after being killed by that same sword. So I suggest what it actually does, the sword, is related to what Bernd Castell's description in Umineko says. So, Bernd's description says that she dies when she stops thinking and revives when she starts thinking again. So I propose that what the sword actually does is enable you to stop existing at will, as well as coming back at will. So this would make sense why Jeda was killed by the sword, but she eventually came back. She would die, she would not want to come back, then she eventually would want to return, so she would be alive again as a ghost, but she would come back. And also, you see, this thing I just said about Bern. See, maybe this is why Bern has this kind of existence, that she can just stop existing, because she will end up being hit by the sword. So she will end up being able to do that whole shenanigan. But it's also possible that she ends up being able to stop existing at will simply because that's how witches work, and their existences are all very weird.
Yeah, you just deny them and they don't exist anymore.
So, now on to Kamikanshi. As we know, Kamikanshi is a wild arc in which stupid shit happens. So
we were talking about Super Saiyan, right?
Super Saiyan, I'm kinda Super Saiyan Takano. So here's the thing. Kamikanshi, as we have established, is an arc that was written by Ryukishi and his friends. Not written, like, the concept was built by Ryukishi and his friends when they were drinking at the bar. So we need to take everything in Kamikanshi with a grain of salt, and all of the evidence that comes from Kamikanshi, you can only take what happens in Kamikanshi as evidence if you believe that even as a joke arc, Ryukishi would, sprinkle some hints here and there.
I like taking details that are said by creators that are, like, obviously jokes, and then just being like, yeah, that's canon, like, But
that's the thing, this makes so much sense, Jansen. Like, I'll just keep going. You need to see, because this makes so much fucking sense. I think Ryukishi is the kind of guy who would give you hints, even if it's just a stupid arc with jokes and people saying PK Flash. So here's what I want to talk about that happens in Kamikanshi. So 3 men attack the group, Rika, Mion, Keiichi, Rena. So 3 men attack the group. Then Hanyu pops up and puts them to sleep. She just makes them drop and sleep. Then, I don't know who, but someone uses PK Flash.
Oh yeah, that reminded me, I remember my friend was just saying as, like, an aside in a call that, like, the Higurashi cast is kind of like an Earthbound cast.
Wow.
In Kamikanshi, definitely. Then, Takano picks up someone by the head with one hand and throws them through a window. Then, Takano breaks down a wall with her bare fists. Weird things happen in Kamikanshi. Also, Takano is Tamura-hime no Mikoto's Miko. So, Tamura-hime, or Tamura, is that character with the wings on her head, with the pink hair. That's Tamura. That's Tamura no Mikoto, and Takano is her Miko in this. Because, Tamura and Hanyu have a past of discord. They don't like each other because Hanyu stole her croissant or something.
What?
In the distant past. So Tamura doesn't like Hanyu, but also for another reason we will come back later. It has to do with the parasites. And then, Tamura accuses Hanyu of being a thief. But once again, we will come back to this. Now, onto my Kamikanshi conclusions. Once again, these are just conclusions I took. It may be wrong for all I know. So it is stated that the different parasites are the cause of nationalistic and xenophobic behavior. So this is essentially what in Higurashi causes the nationalistic feelings some people have. The explanation in Higurashi is that it's all brain parasites. So it's kind of like a defense mechanism, if you will. Because since different parasites cannot live on, cannot control a body at once, and since these parasites apparently can just spread to another individual just by them being close to each other, as we know from Higurashi that Keiichi has been in the village for a week and he already has the fucking parasite. So it would be kind of like a defense mechanism, so that, this person with this parasite wouldn't be close to this other person with this parasite and they wouldn't collide. This is kind of just the explanation given. Anyway, Tamura is a being like Hanyu. She is an entity related to these brain parasites. And Tamura's territory, the thing she calls territory, consists of the people affected by the parasites of her nation. So essentially, these parasites all have nations. So that's what I was talking about, different parasites, aka different nations. And Tamura is the leader of what I will call the Nation of Wings, just for simplicity's sake, because the parasite of Hanyu is called the Nation of Horns. So let's just go with this.
So so they talk about wings in Zirconia. So does this have to do with Zirconia?
I'm not bringing Zirconia into this, but I will say that the whole thing with materializing and dematerializing and the fucking aliens, that sounds like it could fit in Kikonya, I guess. I don't know, it's just Higurashi is either fantasy with witches and shit, or it's sci-fi with aliens. Anything fits in Higurashi. I don't fucking know. So
Higurashi is just a bigger cat box.
Higurashi encompasses all of the future when they cry installments. So, where was I? Tamura also says that when the Nation of Horns came to the Earth, they took Tamura's place as the leader of the people of Onigafuchi. So, as you can see on this PowerPoint presentation, you can see that Tamura Hime's parasite was in people from many territories, including Onikafuchi. But then the people from the Nation of Horns were like, skidaddle, skidoodle, and just implemented their own parasite in the people. And so the people from Onigafuchi now have both parasites. It's just that the Nation of Horns reigns.
So what is Onigafuchi?
Onigafuchi is the name of old Hinamizawa. Come on, Yancy, you don't know that much? What a
Okay, so what is a goblin there?
Yeah, that's the question I've been asking, other than what Sayame said in reply to the picture.
It's what are the lines? Why does the red line do a Sonic the Hedgehog loop?
Why does it look like steak lines? Like she's steaking up those people.
Well, they'd be like pink lines, so it's fragrance lines.
All right, yeah.
Bruh, it's pink because it's the parasite from Tamura Hime. The pink arrows are coming from Tamura.
Okay, so what's the red line coming from the goblin wizard?
Red line is
the goblin Hanyu?
No, the goblin are the people from Hanyu's nation who decided to possess people and skedaddle, Tamura's place.
Why did you just use Hanyu?
No, because Hanyu didn't possess people with dumb best. You were not paying attention, horse game.
All I did is just, I think it would have been more convenient just to use Hanyu.
But Hanyu didn't possess people. She's not a half-blood.
But why did you use goblins?
Because they are skidoodling. Do you not know the meme, horse game?
I know the meme. It's just I don't.
What meme?
The Skedaddle Skadoodle.
Skedaddle, skidoodle, your dick is now a noodle.
Yeah, that. They never said dick. Your dick is now a noodle.
Well, let's move on because we don't have a lot of time, and I'll still have 15 pages to go through.
What?
What? What? What the fuck? You're joking, right? You're joking, right?
Yeah, man.
No.
What was the font size?
Please tell me this is double space, like
what?
18-point font.
This isn't a school essay. You should be the teacher here. Why are you inflating it like it's your final project?
Shut up, Jansen. The school system doesn't give me enough time to properly explain these things, so we're gonna have to rush this or we're gonna have homework.
Oh no.
Ah, shit. Come on.
Let's kids, children, come on, behave. So, when the Nation of Horns came, they ended up monopolizing, essentially, the people of Onigafuchi. So, for this reason, I think Tamura is a Ryun as well, even though she isn't from the same nation as Hanyu. Specifically, Tamura should be a pureblood from the Nation of Wings. She has to be a pureblood because her existence in relation to the people affected by the parasite of her nation is very similar to Hanyu's situation. So, in Kamikanshi, it is said that the reason the Nation of Horns was able to override the Nation of Wings is the fact that they were stronger parasites. So here's my explanation for why all the crazy shit that happens in Kamikanshi is possible. Instead of kicking the Nation of Wings out, the Nation of Horns simply became the parasite in control, coexisting with the Nation of Horns. Except they would also, enable the influence that the Nation of Wings would have on the host. As we know, the parasite of the Nation of Horns is weakened in the present day, which is, Kamikanshi takes place in present day. So the parasite of the Nation of Horns is weakened. So Tamura, even if she wasn't able to completely override who the main parasite was inside of the cast, she could still be able to have some influence, making the superpowers in Kamikanshi nothing more than the same altered perception that Hanyu uses to manifest herself. And now, about this altered perception I just mentioned, this is what I think happens in Matsuribayashi. I think Hanyu simply makes everyone hallucinate that she is there when she actually isn't. And I will prove this, I think. You'll be the judges of that. But do you think, does this make any sense to you? Does this sound like I'm doing some big whip in logic?
No.
No, that makes sense. Wait, so is it like a confirmed or just heavily implied thing that the brain parasites can make everyone collectively hallucinate?
No, that isn't mentioned at all. All we have is these strange things happening, and the knowledge from the main arcs that Hinamizawa Syndrome makes you hallucinate. That's all that we know. Now, the problem here is that the people in Kamikanshi do not seem to be on L5. And from the main arcs, what we know is that you can hallucinate, but only on L5 or L4 or something, once you start reaching the higher levels. So, what I would say is going on here is that Hanyu is lying. She, actually, she can make everyone hallucinate, not only people who reach L5. What I would say is going on here is that once you reach L5, your own consciousness starts hallucinating. But Hanyu, the leader of the Nation of Horns, can make anyone hallucinate however she pleases. And that's what I'm here to prove. I'm here to prove that Hanyu can do this. That she can...
Wait, so is it that when they reach L5, she just always lets them hallucinate?
No, well, I think, because...
Or is it just at L5, it just kind of breaks?
What I think is that once you reach L5 or the higher levels, your own consciousness starts hallucinating by itself. Like the brain parasites inside of your head, those are the ones making you hallucinate. But you see, Hanyu would have a connection with all of this because she's the leader.
Okay.
So she could make anyone hallucinate at any stage. As long as they have her parasite. As long as they are people with the parasite of the Nation of Horns.
Okay.
Okay, wait, so what's with her being the leader?
She's the last one of the purebloods. So she's the leader.
So she like the Aryan alien?
What does that have to do with Hanyu?
Well, we have to make a Nazi reference at some point.
She has the perfect blood. She's the most pure one.
Yeah. Oh my god, Jensen. Well, what I say happens in Kamikanshi is just a result of those hallucinations. Tamura would be like, now you're gonna hallucinate that Takano is punching a wall, and everyone on the vicinity and affected by the parasite of the Nation of Wings would hallucinate this. I will go into the nuances of this in a minute. So essentially, people of Hinamizawa have both the Nation of Wings and the Nation of Horns inside of them, simply because the Nation of Wings was already there in the distant past, and then in the distant past also the Nation of Horns came in and, overrode the control chair, I guess, let's call it that. So this makes sense when you think about how the hallucinations are one of the symptoms of Hinamizawa Syndrome, right? Like hallucinations, it ties in perfectly. For example, Keiichi hallucinating that there's a syringe when in fact it's just a pen. It could be like proof that the parasites have a relation to hallucinations. And now I'm not saying Hanyu would be like, yo Keiichi, you're not now gonna hallucinate that this pen is a syringe. Because Hanyu doesn't. She can control what people are hallucinating, just like Tamura does. But not all hallucinations are her doing. I will say that most of the hallucinations we see are just the defense mechanism of the parasite. But once again, we will get back into that. Now, because I am stupid, I jumped over important things I need to say. So let's go back and tell you what my theory will explain. If there is no queen carrier, then why do people go insane when they are away from the village? I will explain this. Why do you need to be the 8th consecutive girl in the Furude family in order to interact with Hanyu? I will explain this. Why can people with the syndrome hear Hanyu jumping? I've already explained this because I'm dumb and I forgot to mention all of these things before getting into the theory, but I digress, let's keep going. Why does Hanyu go away at the end of Matsuribayashi? Why doesn't Hanyu use her powers more often? Why can't Rika remember who killed her in the original, but she can in Go? What will happen if Rika uses Yonigari no Ryo? And what is the logic error specifically? The logic error that is mentioned in Umineko. And also why it is solved. Furthermore, my theory needs some assumptions, but I will prove those assumptions, I think. And those assumptions that I hope to be able to prove are Hanyu lies, right? We know this from the original story. And specifically on the original story, she lies when she says that she also can't remember who the culprit is. She tells Rika it is Takano in Matsuribayashi. So, Hanyu does know who the culprit is. She has always known, and we know this. Because once again in Matsuribayashi, the only reason Rika knows Takano is the culprit is because Hanyu tells her. So just from this, we can conclude that Hanyu can control memories. She's the one deleting Rika's memory of Takano. So, at least Rika's memories she can control. This theory will prove that she can also mess with the minds of everyone who possesses the parasite of the Nation of Horns. Another thing I will need to prove is that Rika's death is not what triggers the loop. What triggers the loop is Hanyu's loneliness after losing Rika. But Hanyu still doesn't control the trigger. It just triggers automatically when she's lonely. The last thing is that Hanyu is an even bigger liar than we previously knew, having been on the game board before. So yes, I will prove to you that Hanyu not only has been on the game board before, but that was her initial position. So now I will send you an image to the text chat, and I will have it on screen as well for the people listening to the episode, which is a timeline. Here's a timeline. I'll go over the timeline and then I will elaborate on the specifics later on. So, as you can see, the first thing on the timeline is Kotohogushi. So, aliens came, Jedi kill half-bloods, Jedi is blamed because of things she hasn't done. I forgot to mention this, but yeah, Jedi is blamed because of some things that happen in Kotohogushi, and she's also ostracized because of her horns. So, like, she essentially doesn't like being different because she's essentially trying to be a human when she isn't. So she doesn't like her horns, and that's why Hanyu doesn't like her horns. And then Jedi is killed by Yoka with Onigari no Ryu. After Kotohogushi, after she dying, both physically and metaphysically, and also metaphorically because she doesn't actually die. I forgot to mention this. The Ryun, instead of growing old, they grow young. So, having grown young, Jedi's opinions changed, and she wished to return as Hanyu. When she died, she didn't want to exist. She grew young. She wanted to live again, and so she came back. Then, what happened next, this was what I call the village killing arc. And so this is essentially what happened right after Hanyu came back. Since Hanyu can only manifest in front of people with donation of horns parasite, shit will go down, like bad shit will go down. So Hanyu manifests in front of all the horned, I call them horned, what the fuck. Essentially the Hinamizawans. Word spreads of a mad town. Why is this a mad town? Well, because only the people from this village can witness this particular girl. So, word would spread of this mad town. Everyone would start being treated like mad people. And Hanyu would be once again blamed, like she was in Kotohogushi. And she would feel lonely because, either the people from the village would be taken away to be analyzed, or they would stop talking to Hanyu so that they wouldn't be treated like mad people. So Hanyu would feel lonely. And that would be when Hanyu would awaken her powers. She would find out she has powers to loop time. And so the first loop would happen. Hanyu doesn't control her powers. She doesn't control how much time back she can go. So she ended up going back 5 years. But this time, having learned her lesson, she doesn't want to manifest in front of everyone. So she decides to choose one person to manifest to. But still, there would need to be some kind of explanation for her being able to manifest. And so the most logical person to choose would be Rika, because she, there are many legends related with the Furude Shrine and Oyashiro-sama, and like from the three big families, the Furude family is the one that's more closely related to religious aspects. So it'd be very easy to just say, yeah, Rika can see this metaphorical existence because she's from the Furude line, whatever. So yeah, Hanyu manifests only to Rika because from within her friends that she would have made before the loop, Rika is the most convenient one. Then Hanyu comes up with an oracle, and yes, I am saying that the whole thing with the consecutive girls in the Furude family, I'm calling that bullshit. That's not true. That's just something Hanyu came up with and messed with everyone's memories so that, not everyone's memories, like the people from the Furude line, so that they would think that, yeah, this oracle exists, and that's why Rika is able to see Hanyu. This was just Hanyu creating an explanation so that she would, kind of like a backup in case shit went south and then people wanted to start experimenting on Rika. A good explanation would be just like, Rika is part of the Furude family. She can't actually see Hanyu. That's just Rika saying things in order to maintain the image of the Furude line. So it's just very convenient to have Rika as the one to manifest too. Then, on the main thing, the village killing arc, Takano wouldn't kill Rika. Why? Because, why does Takano kill Rika? To bring the Hinamizawa Syndrome to light. But on the village killing arc, everyone already knows about what's going on in this village, simply because it's a village of mad people who can see a girl that doesn't exist. That's why Takano never actually goes to Hinamizawa on the village killing arc. And that is why Hanyu wouldn't know that Takano would pop up and kill Rika. So, Takano pops up and kills Rika. And then Hanyu feels lonely. Because, oh no, Rika isn't here. And now Hanyu could try to manifest someone else. But we will go back to that and I will explain why she doesn't do that. So, once she feels lonely after Rika's death, the loop is triggered once again. And now we are on the second loop. Now, on the second loop, Hanyu decides she can't let Rika win. And so, she deletes Rika's memory of Takano killing her. And she will do that for all of the consequent loops. Once again, we will go back into the nuances of all of these things I have just mentioned. But anyway, jumping onto Matsuri Bayashi, Hanyu changes her mind and decides to let go of Rika by helping her. Hanyu only uses her powers when necessary so that she can feel human. After the work is done, she goes back to only manifesting for Rika in fear of making the same mistake. And that is why at the end of Matsuri Bayashi, Hanyu just fucking disappears, never to be heard from again. Which would be weird, wouldn't it? A girl that actually exists in the world just disappearing. That's weird. So here's the thing contributing to, her being a simple illusion. Anyway, let's start with the nuances. Nuance number 1. What would happen if someone affected by the Nation of Horns and someone not affected by the Nation of Horns during the village killing arc? If both of those people were playing a game of cards with Hanyu. As you can see in this image, on the left we have the vision of the person affected by the Nation of Horns actually seeing Hanyu picking the cards up. And then on the right we see someone who is not affected by the Nation of Horns, who not only doesn't see Hanyu, but also doesn't see the consequences of her actions. Because once again, Hanyu is just an illusion, and she can make other things into an illusion. So the person on the left...
How do we know that the cards even exist? What if the cards are hallucinations themselves? So it would simply...
what if the cards are Hanyu?
That's what I'm saying. Hanyu would make the people hallucinate not only that she's there, but also that she's picking the cards up, when in reality the cards are still on the table.
No, but what if the cards don't
like the person who isn't affected would see. What did you say?
What if the cards don't exist? What if there is no table?
The cards exist because...
What if there is no wall?
Jansen, stop being stupid. Listen to me. The person on the right is someone not affected by the Nation of Horns, so they aren't hallucinating.
Like the main thing that I had like a bit of a problem with your theory in the first place is that Hanyu's powers are so big that I could just say, what if there is no cards and no wall and no table?
That is true, Jansen, but that is an answer without love. Have you not read Umineko?
Yeah, what if she's playing hallucinatory poker? People are just holding cards.
Stop bringing your calendar gate-like ideas into my theory, okay?
I prefer the term battler-esque.
Yes.
Stop bringing your battler-esque ideas.
And you are freaking,
You don't understand. I can actually explain why she's this overpowered and yet she doesn't use her powers. I can actually explain that.
So I didn't know when to interject this, but the theory was just kind of glazing over me, and then I saw your image of the timeline, and it was going to ask, why the fuck did you use that same font for descriptive text? It's fine for thumbnail, but that just seems weird here.
Because it's our image unsealed. I wanted to be...
Our branding.
Exactly. I wanted to be thematically coherent.
You could have them as, for the blue section text, but it really does not look good as, small, descriptive text.
Jansid, I thought we were here to discuss a theory, not aesthetics, not fucking art. God damn it.
What even is the name of that font?
Rock Out.
Rock Out. I like everything about it except the A's.
Enough of this. What's done is done. It is now on that font and you can do nothing about it.
That's scary.
Okay, let's go over more nuances. Yay. So, why did Hanyu come back? Well, I've explained this, I think. Why did Hanyu come back when she had originally died? If the sword is meant to let you die if you want to die. And also, why trap Rika in order not to feel alone? If she can just stop existing, right? If she doesn't want to feel alone, then just fucking stop existing. Well, that's because the Ryun grow young instead of old. Jeda didn't want to exist, but as she grew young, she changed her mind and wished to exist once again. So, Hanyu, being a child, she wanted to exist, and she wanted friends. So she manifested in front of everyone until it went to shit.
Well, I don't know, but, that sounds plausible, because, yeah, why the fuck would she just be able to be okay, I can exist now. I've unlocked the power.
So she manifested in front of everyone until it went to shit. On the first loop, she manifested only to Rika for the 5 years she was with her. So she grew very attached to Rika. So when Rika dies on the first loop, Hanyu realized she couldn't let Rika win, otherwise she would lose Rika once she died of old age. Even if Rika won, she would only die again of old age, maybe. And since Hanyu doesn't control how back in time she can go, and she was like, yo, I can't let Rika win. I have to trap her right here, right now, or otherwise I'm gonna be alone. I don't want to be alone. So, but then, like, why doesn't Hanyu traps someone else then? Like, why doesn't she let Rika win? Then once Rika dies of old age, why doesn't she just choose someone else to manifest to? Well, that would be because, once again, Hanyu is a child, and she stubbornly wants Rika, and only Rika, and so she doesn't want anyone else, and so she wants to trap Rika right there, so that she doesn't take no chances. She doesn't want to run the risk of losing Rika and being alone. So, even though Rika is suffering, she traps her there. She doesn't want to take risks. So now we come to the question: isn't Rika's death the trigger? I would say no, because she's only the queen carrier metaphorically. If you follow this theory, then she just happened to be the one Hanyu manifested to. Therefore, her death would make Hanyu feel lonely and whooping the world. It has nothing to do with her being the queen carrier. She's not the queen carrier. She's just the one Hanyu wanted to manifest to. Well, anyway, going back to the thing about that I was saying about Hanyu trapping Rika instead of letting her win and then manifesting someone else. I know this is a big assumption, but it makes sense with the rest of the theory, so let's just go with that. And also, another argument for why Hanyu doesn't control the trigger is that, if she did, then why didn't Hanyu make the world whoop once, Rika started suffering at hands of Shion and Takano? The official explanation is that, well, the whoop only happens when Rika dies, but it also makes sense for the whoop to only happen when Hanyu feels lonely, because even if Rika was suffering, she would still be with Hanyu, so Hanyu would only feel lonely once Rika died. Okay, so let us now talk about the Hinamizawa Syndrome, which was what I hadn't thought about yet when we recorded that other video. And Yancy was like, yo, what about when people leave the village? And I was like, fuck, I didn't think about this. So here we go. Jeddah would not only know someone was a Jeddah would only know that someone was a half-blood when they transformed. Therefore, those that did not would procreate and pass down the parasite. As we know, the parasite is in a weakened state during Higurashi, so the physical transformation that the half-bloods would go through once they reach level 5 would no longer occur, because the parasite is weakened. So this transformation could be the result, like this transformation that half-bloods used to have, could also be the result of a collective altered perception, just like, Hanyu manifesting in Matsuribayashi. So yeah, but nowadays the parasite is so weakened that the parasite can't even trigger that collective altered perception of reality, and so the transformation into demon no longer happens. So essentially this is a way to explain the magic or the sci-fi of people just turning into demons in the old Onigafuchi. Next, does this mean that mixed bloods back in the day could do some major mind controlling, like Hanyu when she makes everyone believe Takano pulled the trigger? Because yeah, right, so in Matsuribayashi, Takano pulls the trigger and shoots Hanyu, but Hanyu is able to deflect the bullet. So what I say happened here is just Hanyu just made everyone believe, including Takano, that Takano had pulled the trigger when she actually hadn't. And yeah, and then she made everyone hallucinate also that the fucking bullet just pew went away, was deflected. So this arises the question, was the transformation back in the day, this collective altered perception, was this the same kind of collective hallucination? And then I'd say so, yes. And that's the reason only purebloods could stop them. Like, how would humans fight against the hallucination? They just can't. So that's why only the purebloods would be able to stop the half-bloods, and that's why Jeddah's family would be the ones to fight them. Now, nowadays, the syndrome is unlocked by a stressful situation, plus the human part being driven into paranoia, triggering the parasite's instinct to protect the host, or the human part's sense of empowerment when in a dire situation, triggering the parasite's fight or flight. So this is my hypothesis, that it's not only triggered by mistrust, as is mentioned in the original story, it's also from the sense of empowerment people can get. And here are some of the examples. Keiichi and Shion developed the syndrome after being driven into paranoia by Oishi, in Keiichi's case, or Takano in Shion's case. So in this case, it's just regular paranoia triggering the parasite's instinct of, defense instinct, essentially. Because we've got to remember that these parasites are no longer sentient, like Hanyu. These are really just parasites at this point. Because once again, the memories of the Ryun went away long ago, and they merged with the personalities of the hosts. So at this point, there will be just parasites that act on instinct. Then we have the situation of Satoko, Urena, and Mion. These three people developed the syndrome when they realized they could do something about the situation they were in. Like, Urena started thinking about ways to get rid of her stepfather, and later on to get rid of Rina. So, when she started thinking of ways to get out of this situation she was in, she got a sense of empowerment that like, yo, I can do something about this. That was when the parasite awakened. Then Mion had the power to face whoever she was up against in Watadamashi, that we still don't know who it is. But it's very obvious that Mion feels like she can do something about what's going on. And there's the sense of empowerment. And then Satoko's situation wasn't as dire from an outward perspective, but her rejection of her stepfather was very intense for herself, from her perspective. So when she saw the couple near a broken down fence on a cliff, she just pushed her stepfather. And then her mother probably tried to grab onto him, like to grab him so that he wouldn't fall, and then she ended up falling down as well. So here we have both sense of empowerment and the mistrust, the feeling of mistrust that is present in the original story and mentioned. Now, what the virus does to the affected people once they start developing the syndrome is corrode the natural barrier we have against paranoia, and also impulsive acts, which is reasoning. So if the host is someone who is able to think very rationally instead of emotionally, then their defenses are automatically better. And this would explain why Rena survives most of the times in which she should have gone insane, like Watanagashi, Meakashi, Watadamashi, and Tataridamashi. She only develops the syndrome when her weak point, her household, is disturbed, like in Tsumihoroboshi and Onidamashi. This assumes that what she mentions in Onidamashi about she bringing her happy days back and protecting her family, this assumes that what she's referring to is that Rina came back, she killed Rina, and that is why she always acts weird when Keiichi visits her at the dumping site, is because Rina is just fucking dead there. And then, once again, going with the theory that Rina saw Keiichi and Mion speaking on the school and tried to read their lips like she does in Tsumihoroboshi, and ended up coming to the conclusion that Keiichi was onto her and then decided to kill him so that she could protect her household. If we go with that theory, this makes complete sense. So yeah, because Rina is one of the most rational characters in Higurashi. I think the only person that competes with her is Mion. Because Mion, even after, developing the syndrome in Watadamashi, she's still thinking rationally. So, as we can see, even rational people can develop syndrome, but it's harder. And Urena's weak point is her household. Now, Keiichi doesn't develop the syndrome in Tsumihoroboshi. Why is that? Why does Keiichi not develop the syndrome in Tsumihoroboshi? Well, I say it's because Urena... Wait, what are you gonna say, Hardscam?
Because he remembers, and he has no reason to distrust people because they're not hiding anything from him.
Ah, yeah, I had forgotten about that.
Because you're forgetting, like, the beginning of the chapter where, like, Keiichi's like, we're all gonna be friends till the end.
True, I had forgotten about that. My explanation was that Urena was just much worse than him, so Keiichi was buying her stories at first, but then Urena mentioned aliens and Keiichi was like, yo, what? So, but what you said really does add on to this theory, makes it much more plausible. So then, Keiichi doesn't develop syndrome in Higurashi, also because everyone is working together, keeping each other from going insane, well, except for Rina, because she's alone. And the same goes for Matsuribayashi. The reason Keiichi doesn't go to fucking kill Teppei in Matsuribayashi, not Matsuribayashi, Minagurashi, sorry. The reason he doesn't go insane in Minagurashi like he does in Tsumihoroboshi is because everyone's working together, keeping everyone from going insane. Yeah, reasoning, very good for protecting yourself against Hinamizawa Syndrome. Now, about the rules of the village. There's a village rule, that is that villagers are not allowed to leave the village, and outsiders are not allowed to enter the village. Why is this? It's because they don't want the virus to spread, right? But this would also, like the official explanation is that if you're away from the queen carrier, outside of the village, you're more likely to develop the syndrome. However, this could simply be explained by the fact that city life is much more stressful than town life, so it's not hard to imagine the parasite could awaken in people who moved out of the village, creating a rumor that Oyashiro-sama didn't want the people to move out. Add in a few coincidences, like Satoko's incident, and it's a village rule now. The not existence of the queen carrier, because this, as I've explained, this rule can exist even without the queen carrier. And then, after seeing all of this, science came along, tried to interpret this, and came to the assumption that it must have been the influence of a queen carrier, and that's how the idea of the queen carrier
I have a question real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Because I remembered something. Because I don't know if you mentioned this yet, and I might be wrong, is do you know why Keiichi's father saw Hanyu in Matsuri Bayashi? Keiichi's father saw Hanyu, like, not even like an hour into his first visit into Hinamizawa.
Ah, you're right! Okay, I had forgotten about that. I guess the parasite just transmits that quickly. I guess. Does that sound far-fetched?
Yeah, kinda.
Maybe you could also argue that it once again has to do with if you are more of a reasoning person or more of an emotional person, because we do know Keiichi's father, his job is to draw hentai, so I would say his mind is like very imaginative, and so like I don't think he would have that big of a defense against supernatural elements. If he saw, I don't know how to explain this. Like, do you know what I mean? He'd be like more susceptible to believing things like this, that ghosts exist.
He's more powerful to the recent session. Maybe someone told him that they're about like Hanyu or something.
I don't think so. I'm much more prone to believe that he's just that kind of person that tends to believe in ghost stories, for example. So his reasoning defense isn't that great. So the parasite would just transmit quickly. Well, anyway, let's keep going. As Yensid has said, Hanyu is... I'm getting closer to the end of the theory, by the way. As Yensid says, Hanyu is very overpowered in this theory. So let's just explain exactly what Hanyu is all about. So what is the extent of Hanyu's hallucinogenic powers? Well, she can make anyone affected by the parasite of the Nation of Horns hallucinate anything. Just to clarify something, in case this question arises, in Kotohogushi, in the distant past, the way she literally materialized, that was not manifestating. That was really just fucking materializing. So it has nothing to do with this. Well, moving on, why doesn't Hanyu use her powers in Minagoroshi, for example, and save everyone from the mountain dogs in Takano? Why doesn't she do that? Well, that's because of the same reason she deletes Rika's West memories after every arc. She doesn't want Rika to win. Otherwise, Rika will eventually die of old age, and only then would a loop be possible again. But then, why not wait until like Rika dies and rewind her whole life? Well, that's because that in itself is proof that Hanyu doesn't control how much time is pulled back. Because if she did, then yeah, there would be no problem in letting Rika win. The fact that Hanyu doesn't let Rika win is proof that she doesn't control how much time is pulled back. This is also the reason why she only mentions the sword's power now. Because not only is Hanyu gonna die anyway, she had already decided in Matsuri Bayashi to let Rika go. So, of course, now she would have no problems telling Rika about the one thing that could actually enable her to get out of the loop by dying. So this is why the sword hadn't been mentioned before, because it would be a way out, and Hanyu wouldn't want that. But then, why doesn't Hanyu help more actively in Matsuri Bayashi if she has all of these amazing powers, and she can just... Because like, Hanyu could just pop up in game board, make Takano hallucinate that she's taking a nice stroll through the woods when Takano is actually about to fall down a cliff, and then Hanyu could just lead Takano to her own death, and enabling Rika to win. Why doesn't she just do that? That sounds like such a much easier way to win than the methodology of Matsuri Bayashi. Well, Hanyu only uses her powers at the end of the arc to scare the mountain dogs and to make everyone hallucinate, including Takano herself, that Takano pulled the trigger. Why does she only use her powers here then, instead of the easier way to finish things?
Why not?
Well, that would be because of her horns, aka because of Hanyu being traumatized from being ostracized in the past for being different. So Hanyu wanted to feel as human as possible, only using her powers as a last resort with Takano, or when she feels comfortable with it, like when she does it to scare the mountain dogs. So OP Hanyu doesn't go against the message of togetherness either, because, you know, it was the fact that everyone worked together that enabled Hanyu to feel as human as possible and only use her amazing powers when she really needed to, or when she felt comfortable to. So yeah, here is the explanation why Hanyu hasn't used her amazing powers, why OP Hanyu actually fits, and why this doesn't go against the message of togetherness of Higurashi. Now, to finish things up, here's what I think will happen from now on in Higurashi Go. So, I think Rika could enlist Tamura's help to make the bad guys hallucinate, because as we've established, Tamura would be able to make people with the parasite of the Nation of Wings hallucinate even if that wasn't parasite in control. And I'm sure Tamura would gladly take Hanyu's territory once she knows Hanyu is gone. The other thing I think may actually happen is Feadorin revealing herself as the Game Master and bringing one of the 3 girls that are present in Higurashi Made the mobile game, bring one of them back because they are from the future in order to help Rika with knowledge from the future, just like Umi Castel did with Anji. And this is my theory. Now, let's go back to the questions I said I would explain. And Horsecam, I'm glad you paid attention because now you're going to have to answer this. So, if there is no Queen Carrier, then why do people go insane when they are away from the village? It's just a way for me to know if I explained myself correctly. So, can you answer this question? Why do people go insane when they leave the village if there is no Queen Carrier?
Okay. Okay. Do you want me answering with what I think it is, or using your theory?
Oh, you could say both.
Because what I think is probably because a lot of times when people are in their hometown, they get stressed, like with Rina. Like, she got stressed because of her parents' divorce. Those people in World War II, the Manchura thing, that was because the stress of war.
Yeah.
If you're in war, you're going to be really stressed out.
Yeah, but that's an extreme situation. But, like, with Rina, what you said that you think is going on is the same as what I said. It's just that, she was just stressed out. It doesn't have anything to do with being away from Rika.
Like a test from school give you Hinamizawa Syndrome?
I guess it could give you
saying something about how
syndrome.
One of your country's exams was like scientifically proven to cause as much stress as like a divorce or something. So
yeah,
if Rena got stress from the divorce, then that's the same fucking amount of stress you get from a test. So like, why doesn't everyone have Hinamizawa Syndrome?
Okay, wait a minute. I actually did an error answering your question because, as I said, my theory only says that the Hinamizawa Syndrome comes from stress, but not just stress. Stress needs to be coupled with either the feeling of mistrust, like with Keiichi and Shion, or with the sense of empowerment, like Rena's situation, or Satoko's or Mion's. So in this case, unless the key to passing on the exam was to kill someone, I don't think the Hinamizawa Syndrome would trigger. But also, this isn't that far-fetched because we do know many people have developed Hinamizawa Syndrome outside of the village. And that's why the whole rule with about how people can't leave the village, that's how it was created. So of course there are many people going insane outside of the village. Okay, so next, why do you need to be the 8th consecutive girl in the Furude family in order to interact with Hanyu? Was this explicit?
Yes, it was just because Hanyu picked her.
Yeah, and Hanyu came up with the fucking thing and made everyone, it's the Furude family, hallucinate that there was a manuscript there that said that if you were the 8th consecutive girl, you would see Hanyu. Next, why can people with the syndrome hear Hanyu jumping?
Because, fucking horns.
Because, like, when the parasites start becoming active, the host is essentially closer to a state of existence as the Ryun. That's my theory.
Well, that kind of reminded me when I was fucking reading Higurashi for the first time. I was just like, bro, what if the footsteps are the maggots in the blood?
Yeah, I thought the same. Like the blood pulsing like near the eardrums, for example. So why does Hanyu go away at the end of Matsuribayashi?
Why does Hanyu go away? Because she doesn't want Rika anymore?
What? No, it's because she still manifests to Rika. But when I say she goes away, is that she stops manifesting to the whole gang, like she did on the village killing arc. Because like in Matsuribayashi, she started manifesting in front of everyone again, right? Like she wouldn't want the same thing that happened on the village killing arc to happen. So after her work was done, she just stopped existing for everyone else but Rika again. Does that make sense?
She doesn't. Yes, sure.
Okay, honestly, the idea of her, like, never materializing but just being a shared hallucination is... I think I could see that.
Okay, then why doesn't Hanyu use her powers more often?
Why doesn't Hanyu use her powers more often?
Yeah.
Because she's one of those people who's like, I gotta go easy on these assholes.
What?
Otherwise I'm gonna blow my
horse game. That's not it at all. It was because Hanyu wants to feel human. She doesn't like her horn. She doesn't like that she's an alien, and that she can't fucking even exist in front of her friends. Otherwise, they'll be treated like mad people. She feels sad about that, so she wants to feel human. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, then why can't Rika remember who killed her in the original Higurashi, but she can in Go? Maybe I haven't actually discussed this. I think it's just because, in the original it was Hanyu not allowing her to remember. So even if Hanyu isn't the one in control of the looping in Go, she's not. She just has no reason to make Rika forget about Takano. So she's not making Rika forget about Takano. So Rika doesn't forget about Takano. Does this make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, then what will happen if Rika uses Onigari no Ryo? Well, if for my theory, instead of her actually dying, she will simply attain the ability to stop existing whenever she wants to, just like she is able to in Umineko. And then what is the logic error specifically? So the logic error that is mentioned in Umineko, that is referring to Higurashi as a game. Well, maybe this isn't a specific part of my theory. Maybe this is a part of a bigger theory that already existed. But I think it's just the fact that when Hanyu made the world loop, she essentially left Rika trapped in a closed room, and then the key would be Hanyu. But since Hanyu doesn't want Rika to win, she would never manifest. So the key to the door would never be there. So Rika would be closed, and that would be the logic error. And now, the way the logic error is solved, there are many layers to this, and this is the closing part I want to mention, because on the game board level, the reason the looping system is broken and the logic error is solved is because everyone works together. Yay, friendship! On the meta level, it is because Hanyu, who previously didn't want to hope for a good outcome because she didn't believe in a good ending, she didn't want to participate. But then in Matsuribayashi, she actually decided to participate and a miracle was born. And this is also kinda a bit of evidence, because not wanting to hope for a good outcome kinda sounds like her hopes have already been betrayed in the past. So that goes along with the theory that, she has tried to fix things in the past and her hopes were shattered. And then there's a different layer to this, which I will call the super meta or something, which is a way of looking at this that I got from Sushi. So this is Sushi's idea that I just really liked, which is that in Umineko, Lambda says that Bern says that she only won because Lambda took pity on her, and Lambda represents Takano's certainty that she will win. So Lambda taking pity on Rika is a metaphor for both Hanyu wanting to participate and to hope, and also a metaphor for everyone, for Takano losing, because Lambda is supposed to represent certainty that Takano will win. So if Takano loses, that just means that Lambda is intentionally not making Takano win. So there are many layers to this, and I love this. Yay. And this was essentially an hour of me just talking. Anyway, I hope this will help us look at Higurashi Go through the next episodes. What do you guys think about my theory? I feel like this was... I really don't like how my theory kind of was presented in this way.
Yeah,
I feel like I didn't...
I think there was
actually
some, really interesting parts to it, but also, I'm just hearing this, I'm just could you maybe make this into a Reddit post? Because, I'm not fucking... I'm only 75% following.
I'll try to, because I really like this theory. I just don't think I was able to present it correctly. I'll have to really think about that. Well, this was the episode. I hope you enjoyed. Comment, because comments are cool. We really like listen comments. Oh yeah, and our channel has been doing very well recently. If you look at the views, what the fuck happened there? YouTube is on our side now. I guess YouTube is recommending our videos.
The fucking highlight video getting 800 views baffled me. This theory is kind of biased, and it's just a way to push your anti-Hanyu agenda.
What? No, it's not.